guys, dearyoongi here, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be discussing some K-pop controversial opinions that really should not be controversial. As always, these are just my opinions, and I'm not trying to direct any hate towards any artist or individual. You get the gist. Without further ado, let's get started. First up, I personally like seeing idols getting into relationships. Okay, I know there are fortunately a lot of K-pop fans nowadays who understand that we do not own K-pop idols, and that they are entitled to live their own lives and do what they want to do. If that includes finding a significant other, then great. But unfortunately, there are still those groups of fans who get completely up in arms whenever it is announced that an idol has gotten themselves into a relationship that they are finally ready to go public with. And this used to anger me, but now I think it just makes me sad. I'm sad that you can't just be happy for other people, you know? Like for me personally, it actually makes me really happy when I see idol dating news, because they are humans first and K-pop idols second. They deserve to be happy and date just as much as you and I do. As much as most K-pop idols are living their dreams, at the end of the day, being an idol is still work for them. It's a job. And I like seeing K-pop idols dating if they want to, because it confirms that they managed to find time to live their own lives outside of work, especially when we all know how much of a full-time and full-on career being a K-pop idol can be. They deserve to have some sort of escape from idol life, and if for them that escape is with having a significant other, then who are we to tell them that they can't do that? It just makes me sad, and I hope that we are somehow getting towards a place where idols can be more open with their relationships someday. That would make me really happy. Next, on a sort of similar note, but hitting more closely to home for us as K-pop stans. Controversial opinion, K-pop should not be your whole entire life. Woo, I have a feeling some people are going to take this the wrong way. I completely understand that for a lot of people, K-pop is used as a form of escapism from whatever else is going on in your lives. And for a lot of people, K-pop can kind of work as a happy place, whether that be listening to your faves' music and watching them on variety shows, or interacting with K-pop friends you have made online. And that is absolutely fine. But I do also feel that when people make their entire lives about K-pop, this is when their judgment can become a little more clouded. And that's when people can start to think a little bit more irrationally. When K-pop is the only thing you have going on in your life, it is likely that you will feel everything stronger because it's such a big deal to you. So you're more susceptible to falling into the traps of aunties, for example, who are just looking to get a rise out of you. It's going to hurt a heck of a lot more if an idol you liked turns out to maybe not be a nice person, or you don't like their latest release, something as small as that. So these things, yes, will always affect you regardless if you're a K-pop fan of any sort of caliber, but at least if you haven't made K-pop the only thing going on in your world, then you will hopefully be able to take a step back and look at things more objectively rather than letting your bias take over. It is completely okay to be as devoted to K-pop as we fans are, but if you're ever in a situation where you can feel in yourself that is becoming too much or too overwhelming, it is absolutely okay to step away. There's this weird idea amongst some parts of fandoms that if you're not voting, you're not a good fan. If you're not buying merch, you're not a real fan. But people have other life priorities. If you have a job, or you're studying, or have family members to support, or even other hobbies, there is nothing wrong with that. Next point we're going to be discussing, I like this one. Idols should be able to put fans in their place more. Okay, I really like this one, so much that I think I may have spoken about something similar before, but I can't really remember if I did or if I wanted to, so let's go again. This kind of relates back to my point about letting idols date, where sometimes fans think that they own K-pop idols. Some K-pop fans seem to think that they are entitled to also treat K-pop idols like absolute trash, and I really don't understand that logic. They treat members of groups who aren't their faves horribly and then expect their faves to jump through hoops for them. And some people will think me saying K-pop idols should be able to tell fans when to quit it a little bit more often is controversial, because you know, they're their fans and they're the ones who they need to support them and keep throwing money at their music, or they don't have a career, that sort of thing. Now, has anybody ever heard of the phrase, the customer is always right? If you worked in any sort of public service job, you'll have heard this before. Well, heads up, they're not. Sometimes, dare I say often, the customer can be very wrong. I completely support the idea that idols should be able to stand up for themselves more often, and if a so-called fan is disrespecting them, then I think they should be able to react to that disrespect. I understand K-pop idols are held to an unbelievably high standard, but all companies are doing is teaching fans how to disrespect their artists by not letting them take no BS. I used to work in retail, and I think I've lost count of how many times I wanted to treat a customer exactly how they treated me, because they treat you like you're absolutely tiny and worthy of no respect. I think if somebody wants to be rude to anybody just doing their job, then they should be met with the exact same level of rudeness. It's only fair, you know? And K-pop idols are no exception here. I'm sick of seeing idols apologize when they aren't even in the wrong just to keep fans sweet. Next opinion is why this video is called Controversial K-pop Opinions That Shouldn't Be Controversial, and I'm sure you're about to see why. Every single music label that has a K-pop group should have mental health support available to their idols. I can just see the comments now saying this isn't controversial, when in fact, it actually is. Because although we have fortunately managed to shrink some of the stigma around mental health, a lot of people still don't see how big a deal it is. And you know for a fact, if companies can cut corners somewhere and save money, then they will. There will be a lot of companies still working on the basis that mental health is not their responsibility because these idols have chosen to be in this position, when in fact, as their employers, putting them under such a strict and challenging work schedule, it is absolutely their job to take some accountability and look after their employees. As much as yes, K-pop idols have chosen to have this career path, nothing can mentally prepare you for the toll that a 16-18-hour workday will ultimately have on you. We see how physically drained they are sometimes from the lack of sleep and overworking, but we will never know the true extent of how much their mental health takes a hit in order to try and cope with such a crazy style of living. And let's not forget how young a lot of the people are that are thrown into this life before they've ever had to experience trying to juggle a normal job with life, which can be hard to get used to as it is. Talk about being thrown in at the deep end. This is kind of like being thrown into the volcano. This is why I think if companies are serious about their artists and their well-being, then there should be mental health guidance and support on offer. It's only like a sports team having medical first aiders to help prevent injury. Mental health issues are another form of injury that needs to be taken as seriously as physical and visible problems. Next opinion that really shouldn't be controversial is TikTok virality does not necessarily equate to long-term success. I have spoken about this previously in my video where we discussed how 50/50's Cupid has done so well thanks to TikTok, and what this could potentially mean for their future. So we do currently have a great example unfolding right in front of our eyes. For those who didn't see that video, basically what we discussed is how some people now think that the girls are a shoo-in for a successful career, just because this one song has performed so well. But in reality, as much as we would love for that to happen, at this stage we simply just cannot guarantee that. Because one song performing well on a social media platform like TikTok will not guarantee a stable fandom who want to stick by you and watch your career grow. While there's no denying that artists can gain some fans from going viral, social media success, and especially now TikTok success, is becoming one of the most fragile kinds of fame because it comes and goes with the latest trends. Just because a group performed well on TikTok does not mean that they're no longer at risk of being forgotten down the line. And I think it's really important that people bear this in mind. As fans of a group, our work isn't done after one song does well, so we shouldn't just strive for that one breakthrough hit, because although sometimes that is what you need, it is very, very rare that that's all a group needs to keep succeeding. Next opinion we're going to look at is there needs to be greater restrictions on debuting literal children. I feel like as K-pop fans, especially in my position as a K-pop YouTuber, we talk about this all the time and how we are so against debuting literal children, but companies still keep doing it. Why? Because those groups are always usually successful anyway. Despite the large numbers of people who say they weren't going to stan them, their music still gets purchased, they're still watching their videos, etc. So I've decided, knowing full well we can't stop companies debuting literal children, I'm going to start asking instead for more protection for the very young people being put in these positions. I do believe that Korea is working to try to introduce tighter restrictions on the amount of hours children or younger K-pop idols are allowed to work without breaks. But I don't really think that's enough when you consider the output of work that is expected from them when they are there. It's still like having a full-time job, and the idea of a young person being thrusted into the limelight with all the judgment on their barely even developed bodies or talents, all the creeping, etc. It just makes me so uncomfy. So I think a controversial opinion is definitely, okay, fine, then let's let them keep debuting young idols. Because as much as I am fully against that too, they're not ever going to stop, because people will never stop secretly checking out what they do, even if it's out of curiosity. So if we are insistent on debuting these young people, we need to at least insist on better support, letting them eat a normal diet, not having them starve, letting them get more rest, letting them still have time to complete schooling and be normal young people. And so importantly, like I mentioned earlier, making sure they're being looked after mentally as well as physically. Another controversial opinion I want to look at is looking at albums or maybe K-pop merch in general. K-pop fans care more about how pretty an album is than its music. I think the reason I say this is more controversial is because people aren't going to like hearing it because it feels like a personal attack. But hey, I'm not at all afraid to admit that I'm also guilty of caring about the aesthetic appeal of an album. When my fave is releasing a new album, of course I care about them and their music and I really want to like it. But I also look at the design of the album too. Is it worth me spending extra of my hard-earned money on having the physical copy? If I want to listen to my fave's music, I pay for a Spotify subscription. I'm sure people pay for Apple Music and YouTube Premium, etc. So if I want the album, I can just add it to my playlist. But for me to actually purchase the physical K-pop album that will just sit on my shelf, I want to like the way it looks too. And that's fine. No one's saying you can't feel like that. I don't know why people get so defensive and insistent that they only bought the album because, oh well, B-side track 4 is really good. I love the B-sides. Like, it's okay, it's fine. If you bought it because you like the photo cards, it's your money. Do whatever you want. Some fans get so offended when you accuse them of caring about the way an album looks, but it's true, some people do. I think a good 80% of us who buy K-pop albums, minimum, are buying them for the pretty, right? Not just to listen to the album. That's not what I actually buy the physical version for. That's what I stream it for. I mean, do most of us even have anything to play a physical CD on anymore? I just realized I don't own a CD player, or I no longer have a device with a CD drawer that I can like put into my computer. So when I'm buying an album in particular, I'm buying it because I like the way it looks and I want that thing that is pretty for myself, you know? No one's mad at you for that. It's okay. And last but not least, for today's opinions, we're going back to TikTok again. TikTok challenges and trends have put a lot of extra work and pressure onto idols. I'm sorry, I feel like for people who don't use TikTok a great deal or don't really understand the hype, it can get so tiring to hear about, but it's just so relevant nowadays, especially for us as K-pop fans. Ever since the success of TikTok challenges and how easy it can be to accidentally go viral and get millions of views just by putting yourself out there, I feel like there is now this expectation of idols to partake in TikTok challenges. But when you think about it, all this has done is add more work onto idols' already extra busy schedule. See a lot of K-pop idols meeting up and doing each other's dance challenges for new comebacks now, either at their companies or backstage at music shows, which is probably a tiny bit of time they used to take to rest. And now they're expected to get ready even sooner, learn each other's choreographies in record time, and do them to the best of their ability for a quick 30-second or 1-minute long video. I know it's all a bit of fun. I don't want to be a fun sponge. It is nice to see different group members interact. I'm not trying to suck all the fun out of it, but I do feel bad for them in a way because for idols who are promoting, it's like a big deal to either try and get as many people as possible to do your dance and spread the song more amongst other fandoms, and for smaller idols, it's also a big deal to try and do perhaps a more senior idols challenge with them to show them and their fans your abilities. I don't know, I'm rambling, so I hope I'm making sense. It just feels like another thing idols have no choice but now to do on top of an already hectic schedule. And I do kind of feel for them. No one's straight up come out and said they hate doing challenges as far as I'm aware, but I do feel bad for the idols who feel like they have no choice. Okay guys, and that was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching if you got this far. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I would love to hear your thoughts on these opinions in the comments. Do you agree with them? Do you have any more controversial K-pop opinions of your own? I would love to hear them. If you're new here and haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell. That should let you be the first to hear whenever I upload. And as always, my social medias will be on screen. There's my Twitter and my Instagram. I always try to follow back fellow K-pop stans when possible, so let's be friends. And I'll see you next time. Bye guys!